Okay, wonderful.
Yay! So welcome to Galactic Goddess Podcast. I'm your host, Radhaa Nilia, and today we have Miss Tara Preston. She is a feminine prosperity mentor and Akashic teacher. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to really be a part of the book and the author series.
Yes, we're so excited to
thanks.
have you. You're a wealth of knowledge and wisdom, and we also share the same birthday, you guys. So, we're on the
We
same
do
vibration.
indeed. Yes, I love it. I love it.
So just tell us about yourself and what your passions are. We'd love to know you.
Sure. Yeah. So I am a feminine prosperity mentor, Akashic teacher, and I am super passionate about helping women really come into this place of full, expansive, radiant beauty. And so to me, that's kind of, it's like it's the rooting into the true nature of our prosperity as sacred feminine women. It's really shifting from that place of disconnect, of constant doing, constant giving, the depletion, and never feeling like enough, which, for me in the very early stages of my business, and that was almost 8 or 9 years ago, stepping onto my sacred path, that really followed me around. Leaving a traditional 9 to 5 and then stepping onto my sacred path, I constantly had that never enough sense, not enough time, just not enough energy. And the first 2 or 3 years of my business, and I'm just so off with sharing my story now, but the 2 or 3 years into my business, that sense of just not feeling enough really followed me around, and it really played out in all kinds of ways in my business, in my prosperity, and in my capacity to really be seen by the people that I was here to serve. So over time, I really rooted around into a whole new paradigm around what it means to be prosperous as a sacred feminine woman.
That's so important.
And then, so important. And it really shifted the way I'm able to show up in my business, created a whole lot of ease. And the other piece that I weave in are the Akashic Records. And I'd love to at some point, to maybe today, share a little bit more about the Akashic Records. Yeah, but I found the Akashic Records about 9 years ago, which sometimes blows my mind to think that it's been 9 years. And so over the course of 9 years, I've done, over 3,500 to almost 4,000 Akashic Record readings. And I just feel so fortunate that the Akashic Records spoke to me and that I started working with them. It really opened up a brand new leg of my journey. So
and maybe you can share what Akashic Records are, as far as, people are like, what are they? It's like reading your sacred records. They really help you, give you deeper insight about the patternings that you have now, maybe relationships, maybe blocks. There's just so much going on in the Akashic Records. So when you can access them and really start working with them, it opens up a whole new world of possibility. Because when you can't see what you don't know. So once you can start to identify what's going on, it makes so much sense, and then you can start to clear that out of the Akashic Records, or you can mark it as complete. Sometimes we have lessons that we keep replaying and they simply need to go into the Akashic Records and mark as complete, right? Because we don't, for some reason, we don't always get the memo.
That's right. Well, exactly. Well, and the Akashic Records keep a record of all of our past choices. So all of our past negative choices along our, along our soul path and in various incarnations where we've made negative choices. So just choices that truly aren't in alignment with our true divine nature. But it does create blocks, which create some actually pretty deeply entrenched patterns, because we're talking soul level.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so when you bring the Akashic record to our healing and to our soul level growth, it really does accelerate the path in my experience. And you know, the Akashic records are considered one of the planet's deepest healing tools, and a real ancient source of wisdom and healing. And I just find being in the energy of the Akashic records, it has such a high frequency feeling of love and healing. And so to me, even being in the energy of the field is such a beautiful transmission. So I absolutely love working with the Akashic records, and it's been a really big piece that I weave into primarily supporting women as they step into their sacred path. And as we know, you know, having different experiences with different incarnations, we've made choices, but we have like trauma and wounding around different experiences as sacred feminine women. And so the Akashic records are such a brilliant, beautiful, and deep healing tool that really allows us to go in and start to untangle some of the trauma and really start to clear out some of the blockages where we have deeply entrenched patterns. And it's true, like, I think illuminating the pattern is so powerful. But I also find, because we're working with the Akashic records, and it's considered subconscious, you know, cellular healing, that when you're in the Akashic records, when you're in the Akashic field, it's I feel like I'm often speaking to the subconscious level of the woman that I'm with, and so it becomes brilliant in so many ways. And the Akashic records' ability to really start to untangle and shift and clear, but also really speaking to the innate power and beauty and wisdom of a woman. It's just incredible. I find it really allowing her to anchor in that, so she can create the inner energetic shifts needed to, you know, really start to create some impact and really start to build into that abundance and that beauty, and that, you know, being okay with who we are as powerful spiritual women. So
beautiful work. I mean, it's time for women to step into their divine nature and their empowerment. And, you know, for many of us, and I can speak for myself, you know, I've had many lives of persecution. So every time I would step into my power, into my voice, into speaking on something, sharing something, writing a book, you know, I was killed for that in past lives. I've had been, you know, witch hunts, priestess temples, all kinds of stuff that was very traumatic. And it made it very hard to step into my path and purpose. So, you know, this kind of work really helps facilitate the deep healing of these traumas, so that we can step into our light, into our voice, into our writing. You know, we're here to share with the world our wisdom, our truth, our love. We're the nurturers and the givers, and we have so much to give, and we can't let those experiences halt us. Yet it's funny to hear that. It's like
my phone buzzed.
And yet we have so much to move forward with, and I'm really grateful that you're going to be part of Awakening Starseeds, because it is about coming together and sharing our awakening stories, whatever that means for you. And I'd like to know what you might be sharing with your story.
You know, I think that's a really amazing place to jump in. And I was kind of, you know, just reflecting on my path as you were speaking. And I think my awakening really begins in the beauty industry. And I know we kind of have that in common. But as a professional makeup artist for almost 12 years before I really stepped onto my sacred path, I was fulfilled to a degree. Like I was doing something that I enjoyed, but there was pieces of me that were missing. The fullness of who I was, really, it wasn't being expressed in that career. And I just felt this deep call and this deep longing to make, you know, at that time it was a huge lifestyle jump where I left it's a fairly large city and made the jump to the country because I just felt this call to be so immersed in nature and to start to really cultivate this sense of like nourishment and balance and flow. And, you know, Mother Earth was just calling to me. And it really was a time where I started to examine and really came into relationship with my ability to flow with the lunar cycles and to flow with the seasons. And it started to really cultivate this beautiful sense of nourishment that I, for myself, wasn't able to find in a city at that time. But the other piece too was, you know, leaving an industry that, you know, a lot of people looked at me and thought, well, you should be happy. Like, what else is there? And I didn't really know what that was. And, you know, 10 years ago, this is when, you know, Eckhart Tolle and Oprah were starting to talk a lot about, like, well, live your purpose. You just have to find your purpose. And so I wanted to know what that was. And we made that jump. And at that time, I was kind of like, well, what is my purpose? There's got to be more. I'm not like 100% fulfilled. And I could feel there was more, but I didn't know what it was. And that is actually where I found the Akashic Records. And the Akashic Records became a clue that actually supported me in understanding a little bit more about my unique expression and some of my gifts and what it was that I was uniquely here to bring. But also, as I started to step onto this path and serve other women by working with the Akashic Records, I started to understand where, you know, my background as a professional makeup artist and even some modeling came into the picture, but that there was more. And I started to see this, like, you know, this understanding of what it meant for women to live their purpose and be in their beauty and who I was bringing that medicine of beauty and soul. And it started to really open up a path that was very unique to me. And and that was a huge point in my awakening where I just felt so much more fully expressed in who I was. And if I hadn't really taken that leap, I don't know that I would have ever really been able to experience myself. And I think for me too, it was a huge awakening in my capacity to be a creator, to be a creatrix.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, what a journey. I think that so many people are starting to awaken to what they're really wanting to do or be here for. That question is a wonderful question. You know, it can be nerve-wracking. It can be stressful. Like, well, what's my higher purpose? You know, it can feel like a breakdown, but it's actually a breakthrough to where you're going. And it's what if where you're going is so much more aligned with who you are, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And so now it's a piece that I find I'm often, you know, guiding other women through, you know, that just on the verge of, like, you know, having collected a lot of healing tools and still maybe in the old life and feeling that call into more, but not quite sure how to navigate it. And you know, and it is a journey, and it's a beautiful journey, and it's a journey of shedding away so much old and really anchoring into, you know, what I would again call, you know, new paradigm feminine prosperity, where we kind of like pop outside the box of society and anchor into something totally new where we remember our creative power. Yes, totally.
I love that. I feel that. That's where we're going. So many of us. And so do you think your chapter is going to be around that subject about your experience making that quantum leap, or what do you think it's going to be about?
Yeah, I think it's going to focus on the quantum leap and just the early stages of stepping onto my sacred path, because I feel really those 2 or 3 years, now that's like, you know, 7 years ago, it was really difficult not knowing what I know now. And if I can share some of what I know now to those women that are making that jump, I truly feel it'll shorten the path and alleviate often a lot of struggle, you know, especially sometimes coming from jobs, you know, we just tend to be in that grind and that pushing and that doing. And I can't tell you how many, you know, times I've held space for women making that transition, and they're hitting the edge of a breakdown of not feeling enough. And they're just so tired of giving and never feeling enough. And getting to that place where they're letting stuff go because they're remembering, you know, that they are enough. They're starting to see their own beauty and see their own power and see that they don't need the acceptance or the approval. And again, this is where the Akashic Records are just so beautiful. It's starting to untangle all of these places that we've given ourselves away out of the need for acceptance, approval, or love. And we can clear out those choices, and we can come back home to ourselves, and we can really start to remember the beauty of who we are. And just to see, you know, women start to really break down and then break through that and just remember, I am enough. And it really starts to open up space for a whole new way of being. And so, so I do feel that I want to speak to that, and it'll be definitely a piece that I'd like to share, and how we can make really some quantum shifts that I think can speed up the path.
Beautiful. And so much needed. I know. I'm looking at these flowers I got for my birthday, and I'm like, yeah, it's just like the divine feminine blooming, you know, blooming into your divinity, opening so that your beautiful petals can show and your fragrant essence can come through. Each one of us has a unique soul signature that's unlike anyone else. So we can come together and our pieces can, you know, fit connecting. But each one of us is a piece of the puzzle. We are like divine snowflakes, where each one of us has our perfect energy patterning, and we're here to connect with each other and to activate each other with that. And when we are stepped into our truth, into our purpose, into our divinity and blooming in the world, it is a gift to others. It's not, you're not shining the light away from anyone else. You're taking away. Yeah. You're not taking away. You're shining the light, and we're here to inspire each other. It's not one or the other. Every woman is unique and different. So you can never, competition is just, that's so ridiculous. Like, there is no competition. We are here. We enhance each other. That's what we do. Yeah, totally. I feel like in a woman's presence, and I've seen this with working with, it doesn't matter who it is, if it's like, especially even with moms, right? Because, you know, their role in society tends to have a lot of programming around it, with the giving and the doing and the sacrifice and the guilt. But when we can shift it from giving and depletion and doing and never feeling enough to actually stopping and remembering just the beauty of just us in our presence, but really starting to feed into what we want and who we're being called to be, and loving ourselves and giving ourselves what we need, we do tend to blossom in that unique signature that you're talking about. But it does, that fullness of who we become becomes a contribution. Yes. And I've seen this happen, just to get back to your point, and I've seen this happen even with mothers in the home, where they really start to make that space to, you know, come into their purpose and their beauty, and to honor what they need. And they kind of shift their role in the home, but as they do, it lifts the whole house up. The whole family shifts. You know, the mother's full, she's happy, she's radiant, she's in her beauty, she's, you know, she's feeling in her purpose, and there's just like a natural flow of energy. And so I think that is the gift of a woman who is in her feminine prosperity. She's full. Yeah. And she's prosperous. Yeah. That's so beautiful. And I feel that's so important. We need to fill our vessel first, you know, and that's how I felt today when I woke up after all the love, you know, I received. I was like, oh, my vessel feels so full. I'm in such gratitude. And how can I be of service? How can I give more? I was like, that's literally what I felt like. How can I give more? I really want to find a way to give back for my birthday. It's when you receive, you want to give. I think that's the natural flow of things. Right? The energy keeps flowing. And then it's just a beautiful thing. And when you tap into that zone, it's amazing. And we're not always going to feel like that every day. And that's okay too. You know, some days it's like, no, not today. Today I just need my space, or today I need to create my boundaries. But it's a wonderful feeling when you do come to that place. But understanding the ebb and flow, that life is constantly moving. But when we heal and clear and find new tools like the Akashic Records, we are able to flow with more grace and more ease, where something would set us off for a month or 3 months or put us in a spiral. We can sort of learn to acknowledge the fullness of the feeling and really work through it, and then ride the wave and not let it take us down, because we're sort of going on this upward energy. And it's hard once you sink down to those lowest points. And we've all been there and had many dark nights of the soul personally. So I understand. And I worked through so much in them. They were a gift in a very unusual way, but I feel like at this point, we're like learning to surf. So we don't have to drown. We can get back on our board and be like, okay, the water's a little rough, but I'm gonna go again, or I'm just gonna go back where it's less rough and just wait it out for a bit and then come back. We're learning how to work with the energies that are incoming as well, because they're pretty intense, don't you think?
That is very true. That's exactly it. And I think too, just listening to you talk about the flow, I think without coming back into a space of presence and understanding how to recalibrate our energy, it's really hard to do. And it's, we're talking about giving, and it's so interesting where I think we're at this time, and I'm sure you'll agree, but where we're remembering how to be present, but like how to receive our own love, how to receive, the love of spirit, how to really be in that flow of giving and allowing ourselves to receive, which is surprisingly, but not surprisingly, uncomfortable. And that's been a huge part of my journey, has been so much around self-love. And in the very beginning stages, it was like the key that really started to unlock my ability to receive. It was like the key that really opened up my sacred path. And then of course things just started to unravel and grow from there. But yeah. And speaking of love, I wanted, we were talking a little bit about, starseed lineages.
Yes.
We're talking about love, and I actually we'll touch on that because it kind of ties in very nicely to just this this discussion about love and self-love. And like Radhaa, I had read for you, I don't even know how many years ago, but we were talking about, we uncovered your soul group in that session.
Yes. I wish I could remember what it was.
Well, I'll tell you right now, because I know what it was. And yeah, your soul group is actually, it's my soul group as well. And so these are Hadarian souls. And so with the Akashic Records, they're one of the really kind of, I think it's really fun to understand some of our galactic heritage. So some of us, and Starseeds in particular, have had experiences outside of this earthly physical experience. And so when we've had experiences with different soul groups from different star systems, it's actually becomes part of our heritage. It's experiences and time spent with different energies. And so because of that, we actually start to exude some of those characteristics at soul level. And I like uncovering Starseed, like a client Starseed lineage, because it gives me just another understanding of like karmically what might be playing out, or what is going on with maybe their mission, or some of the just like the unique vibration that they're grounding here at this time. And so when I read for you, it was the Hadarian soul group that had come through. And Hadarian souls are, well, they're very lovely, and they're very anchored in love. They actually come from a planet that had divine love figured out, and not just divine love, but unconditional love. And so these souls are the souls that actually they carry the codes for unconditional and divine love. And so they're often found as teachers of love, and they just have this this vibration of love that they tend to emanate, that can be very healing and uplifting for those around them. And the Hadarians do, because they have a very unconditionally loving nature, they tend to sometimes be too unconditionally loving in their nature. Where especially young Hadarians, and so because they're kind of like, if they haven't really mastered being in the vibration of love and how empowering love can just be for us individually, then they tend to look for it outside of themselves. And they're very they want to experience love, because that's part of what they're remembering and teaching and sharing. So they do tend to gravitate sometimes towards relationships that may not always be the best for them. And I know I've had this experience too early on. And then that unconditionally loving nature, it can create patterns where they're not the quickest sometimes to leave and shift into healthier relationship dynamics. but at that same time, it's like they're learning about what love isn't, so that they can be
like, what is this non-love?
Empower. Right?
I don't understand. How could you not love me back the way that I love you? I mean, that is such a, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, because I mean, you wonder how can they not love the same way that I love? And that's like the hardest lesson to learn, is that not everyone's coming from the same heart space.
Yeah, it's an unconditionally loving thing. And so if somebody, you know, screws up, or there's mistreatment or whatever, the Hadarian's tendency is to be more like, it's okay, I just love you.
Yeah. We'll work this all out.
Exactly. Yes. And let's do it again. But the thing that happens with Hadarians too is, I find very quickly, and having, you know, I tend to attract them, but having, you know, a few experiences through their 20s, sometimes their early 30s, you know, and that depends too who I'm reading for. It could be a different story if you're a Hadarian and you do come in for a reading. It could be totally different. But the stories that I have seen is that they tend to learn quite quickly, and then they really step into this empowerment around love, and it feels very natural for them to want to teach it and share it and to really be it for others to experience.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that's a little bit, and there's more about Hadarians, but that's a little bit. Yeah.
The Hadarians. Well, we have the same birthday, and we're part of the same Hadarian group. We must have been on the same planet before.
I don't know, what I mean? Maybe. Yes, maybe that's just exactly.
You know?
The divine loving planet. Totally. Yeah.
It's amazing. I think that's so cool. I think nothing is more amazing than meeting your Starseed tribe, people that you've culminated in other lifetimes, beautiful experiences too, you know, it's just, it's nice. You just feel ease and peace and love. And that's what I get from you, is like, you're such a great teacher, because you give so much love in everything that you do. And that's so needed. And we were just talking earlier before we started about how, you know, I've taken Akashic Records before, but I would probably want to take a course with you, because it's, you know, it's about going to people who are heart-centered, and that vibration really speaks to me when someone teaches or comes from a place that they're in their heart. I learn so much easier, and I just absorb the energy and the information, because I don't have those little blocks up. I don't know if it makes, you know, sometimes when people are just
it does. Yeah.
mental, and they're just like and I'm just like, okay, your energy is harsh, so I need to put up a few little super shields, but that means I can't
hard to digest.
I can't digest your information as well, because I'm having to shield up. That's just something to think about when you're looking for a teacher or people you want to work with.
I actually really like that. Yeah. Because to me too, as a teacher, and even when I'm a student, it's I want to hear the logic and the mental aspect of what you're teaching, but I want to feel the transmission of like what you're teaching. I want to absorb the wisdom.
It's like aligned. And I think that's where we're going, is like, we are here, you and I are here to help activate people's heart chakras, come back to yourself, come back to your truth, come back to your purpose. And yes, you can be mental and have your PhDs and whatever you have, but come into your heart. And then when you integrate that, boy, you're just powerful, and it amplifies times 1,000,000,000%. You're unstoppable, because you've got both. There's nothing better. So we have the ability to activate our heart and our mind, and we shouldn't leave one or the other out, you know, because you don't want to just have an activated heart but not use your practical mind as well.
Yes, that's right.
I know Hadarians are like, you know, but
yes, exactly.
We also, we activate our intellect and our mind and our rationing and our reasoning, and then you combine them both, and that's a perfect scale, right? So
yeah, it really is. And I'm not sure where we're at for time, but I think that, you know, that speaks to women who do have a heart-centered approach and really trusting the wisdom and the vision of and the teachings, right? Because I find too, it's like, if you're feeling nudged if you have that call, if you're feeling nudged to walk your sacred path, and you're starting to really awaken to the wisdom and the beauty and the power of you, you know, chances are you've got a really unique perspective. You've got wisdom, you've got teachings, and to trust it, and to really trust it and let it flow through you. Because, you know, sometimes it can get stuck in the channel a little bit at like the mental body level, if we're judging and we're not sure about what it is that wants to come through it and out into the world. So this is your message, to trust it.
Yes, trust it, you guys, trust it. And lastly, I just want to ask, why did you say yes to Awakening Starseeds, to be a co-author on this book? Where did you feel it, or, you know, what was your...
Well, I think I love the timing of it. There's something that really inspired. I just got that little like kind of like spark hit, and it feels like now's the time. Like it's just, there's more and more women that are really awakening to that. And I think the more that we can see others doing it, and the more that we can, you know, and the more that we see others doing it, the more we're giving ourselves the permission to take the steps. It's not feeling so foreign, the more that we can kind of share, you know, who's out there doing what. So I wanted to be a part of it. So thank you for having me.
We're really honored to have your incredible voice and wisdom, and I cannot wait to read, you know, your first draft of your chapter. So it's gonna be so exciting.
I'm so excited. Yes. Thank you so much for putting this together, Radhaa.
Absolutely. It's my honor and pleasure. And I get to hang out with people like you, Hadarian.
That's right. Hadarians unite. Totally.
Hadarian Starseeds unite. And thank you. I'll put her links below so you can reach out, find out about her classes, her courses, her mastery program. She has a lot to offer. And so I'll put all her links below. And thank you so much for joining us today, Tara. So much love to you.
Thank you.
And all of you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Mwah.